use of pictures. That's because both of her children, Liam and Grace, have autism.
Now, thanks to Lisa, more and more parents of children with autism will benefit as she created a revolutionary application for the iPhone.
Now, we're going to talk about this application in a few minutes' time because it is revolutionary, absolutely brilliant, and you'll see for yourselves, folks, just what a difference it's going to make for so many children with autism. But tell us, when was your first child, Liam? When was he diagnosed with autism?
He was 2 when my husband said to me, we have to do something. It wasn't obvious to me. Like most first-time mums, everything about my son was perfect and everything that wasn't was my fault. And my husband said, no, we need to get a referral because he was leading us by the hand. He wasn't talking. He would say one word one day and then you'd never hear it again. So we went to see, got a referral to a paediatrician who, like a lot of older paediatricians we find, would just want you to wait and see, give him time, he'll catch up. But we ended up asking him for our diagnosis when Liam was 2.5. And that was because we knew we'd had to get onto waiting lists and start getting services that way. So we really pretty much demanded our diagnosis. And at the time I was hopeful. I mean, you're always hopeful that maybe there'll be room and, you know, maybe he is okay. And I did say it to a teacher in the autism school, you know, is there any doubt why they wouldn't have diagnosed? And she said, no, he's very autistic. There was no doubt.
And then, Lisa, already having one child with autism, when you were pregnant with Grace 2 years later, were you terrified?
No, I was too busy focusing on Liam. You know, he was quite a busy little boy. He was, you know, a lot of behaviour, and you don't really get time to focus on it. And when Grace was born, obviously she's a girl, I just thought, great, girls can't get it. Isn't that fantastic? We've got 2 children, because I don't know if I would have had a second child, knowing. I was already pregnant by the time, you know, we found out, so... No. So
what age was Grace then when you found out that she was autistic?
It just kind of crept up on us, and to me, again, she seemed perfect, and I was quite happy. But someone else had to say, look, she doesn't look at anybody other than you, and she looked at me all the time. She was very close to me. She was in one of those little pouches, and she pretty much wanted to be there all the time. Now,
so she was affectionate?
Oh, she just wanted deep pressure all the time. And now I know that that need for deep pressure, that need to be held and that need to be close to people who understand you is all part of the spectrum. But at the time, I just thought I had a very clingy little baby. They used to call her a little koala baby because she was always clinging to me all the time. So
when you discover that your second child, Grace, she had autism, how did that affect you?
It was water off a duck's back by then. It was just like, okay, you know, we did this once, we have to do it again. And as little as you know about autism, you think that, you know, you've learned about it. But as they say, you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism, because they both have very, very different parts of the spectrum.
And how are they different?
My son Liam has a lot of physical stuff, so he would be into movement, running up and down. He'd be pulling on your arm all the time. I think you saw him earlier in the garden, he was running around. Whereas my daughter would be the opposite. She's very graceful and she's very balanced, but she needs that deep pressure. She needs to be held all the time and squashed. And
we have some pictures actually all the way from 2007. I think it was one of the news crew did a report out with your house. Is your house chaotic all the time?
It was a lot more chaotic then. That's Gracie on her computer. And at the time we were doing some home educating. We were trying to make sure that we kept the doors open to learning for the kids, and I was trying to top up what they were getting in their school. We're very, very fortunate, and 2 years ago they got into Saplings, ABA school in Rathfarnham, and that has just changed our lives. Our house is a house now, whereas that time it was basically a school, and the kids get every aspect of their education is taken care of in the school, so when they come home they can just be kids. And it's brilliant for us. It's really changed things for me. I don't think I would have had the time to even think about developing the iPhone app if I didn't have Saplings School, so we're really, really grateful for what they do.
Tell us, how did the 46A have such an impact on this story and this application that you've created for the iPhone?
Well, we've been in partnership, obviously, with O2, with Irish Autism Action. I volunteered with Irish Autism Action for years. And at one of the meetings, they'd said that one of their goals they wanted to achieve with us as a group was developing something to do with technology that would support people with autism. And I stuck my hand up and said, you know, there's this iPhone coming. when the iPhone was being launched in Ireland, they had those big ads on the side of the buses, and we were just going up the N11 going into town one day, and I thought, gee, just, you know, when you just stare out of the window, and I thought, gee, that looks like Gracie's picture book. And I realised that those little icons that are on her book were very similar to the icons on the phone. And almost 2 years, yes, 2 years to the day, I was at the opening of the Solace Diagnostic Centre, which O2 had supported.
It's on Tarf, yeah.
Yeah, and I pretty much blagged a phone. I went up to the O2 staff and like, gee, you know, I saw this iPhone, what's that about? Do you think I could use it for pictures? And they said, sure, we'll get you one, which was fantastic. I mean, they were really new in Ireland, so it was quite a leap of faith. They couriered one out to me. And that summer, I started playing with it, and literally with my daughter together we developed the prototype for the Grace app that we have now.
So Grace helped with the research into this?
She was involved from the very first. All I needed to do was work out how to use it, and I loaded all her existing picture vocabulary onto the phone, just into the photo album, but together we went out with it. And I call it teach to the taste. You don't say, this is an apple and here's a picture of an apple. You go out and say, here's an apple, and if you point to this picture of the apple, you hand it to them, or in this case it was a croissant. And she got the taste of the croissant, and next time she knew to just use the phone to request it.
Well, let's just show our viewers this book, because this is what Grace would have been working on before the iPhone. We'll just show our viewers there in camera.
This is her desktop book.
Okay, I'll hold it up to camera 2. Yeah.
And we would use this, it actually sits beside her computer at home.
Okay.
It has about 400 symbols in it, and the rule with picture exchange is that once you give them vocabulary, so you might have set up an exercise where they're naming animals in a picture book, you can't take it away.
Because we must explain as well that Grace is non-verbal, which means she can't use her voice really to communicate.
No,
she would be heavily reliant on these pictures.
She can say, I want mummy, but if she said to you, I want Chris, you wouldn't know that she wanted a packet of crisps. So she needs to always have her picture exchange accessible.
Okay, so wherever she goes, this goes, and just by looking at it, you can understand, folks, why you got the idea when you looked at the iPhone, because the iPhone has all these different applications on its screen, very, very similar, but a lot easier to carry and manoeuvre and work with than this might prove to be. This, I'm just looking at the pictures here, they're all laminated. So if Grace sees something and you develop a means for her to ask for this, the picture has to be taken, needs to be printed, laminated, and then put into this book.
And like with the best possible will in the world, that can take a week. So between finding the new thing that she wants to try, and she's obviously looked for, and getting the photo, the laminator, the Velcro, and you just learn to hate Velcro. After 8 years, I hate Velcro. I hate the touch of it.
Yeah.
You might be a week, and then you put it into the book, and they're over it already. And you know, but you can't take it away, and you also have to make sure that everybody else knows about it. So you have to share that vocabulary. She has a book in school that she uses. So I was just so sick of all of that, and I wanted her to have her full vocabulary. You can take out a small portable book when you're going somewhere, but there's no way that everything she needs is in there. And you know, you wouldn't take a verbal child and cover up their mouth and stop them from speaking. So to take pictures away from a picture communicator, it just isn't ethical. And that's why I was looking for a means of replacing it.
Now, technology has played a huge role in this story in creating this application. Tell us about Facebook and how you met this whiz kid, Steve Troughton-Smith.
That's his name, yes. And he is a whiz kid, with emphasis on the kid. I didn't know this at the time. I write the Irish Autism blog, and I read a lot of
congratulations on your award. Well done to you.
And to all the girls who helped me. I would read a lot of marketing and charity blogs just to, you know, to be keeping myself educated, and I came across Steve's name. He's one of the people to watch in terms of iPhone app development. Now, I wouldn't be part of tech circles, so I Facebook stalked him, let's be straight. And I wrote him a long letter and told him about the prototype I'd been using on the iPhone and asking whether it was possible. Because part of the use of this vocabulary, it's not just to request an item that you've taken a photo of. If they don't have a photo, they have the ability to request by colour and shape. And if, for instance, Gracie wanted a Mars bar, she would ask for red and black chocolate. you have to be able to put them in a row to do that. But I couldn't do that on the prototype that I'd created. It was just single cards again. And it's also important to use a sentence starter because you're trying to teach them natural speech. So they would say, I want. I explained it all, like I brought the books, I brought a big piece of paper and I drew it all for Steve because I would meet him. And to his credit, he did it exactly as I had described it.
Which is a very rare thing.
It really, in tech circles, you often get told that this is what you asked for, but this was actually what we'd asked for, and better, as it turned out. He changed the phone so that we had, the application is there for the kids to touch and go straight in. And they have their colours and they have their items that they like. But I caught Gracie one day. She had seen me taking photos of something. So you've requested I want circle purple chocolate. Afterwards I can take a photo of the Cadbury's buttons and that's, you know, I would do that. But I caught her holding up the phone and trying to take a photo herself. And I realised then that for her, this was her voice, this was her theory of mind, and she understood that if the photo was in the phone, I knew what she wanted. I told that to Steve, and he has actually put that in the app, so you can take a photo. And after we had come up with this prototype and we put it on a few phones, O2 donated another 3 phones so we could try it out with other kids, just to make sure that Gracie wasn't the only one, because she is very computer literate. And one of the girls in that group took 3,000 photographs.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Budding photographer there, huh?
And for her, it was the very first time that she would share attention. I mean, requesting is one thing, and that's easy to teach. But just to say, look at that, is something that doesn't come very naturally with autism. And this little girl, Emma, she was taking photos just to share them with her family and her friends and her tutor and say, look, a dog. And her language developed as a result. So we realised then that it wasn't just for Gracie, it was going to work with other kids as well.
Well, I look at, and as we said just a few minutes ago, we were looking at the photo exchange book and how cumbersome it can be. Yes, vital to so many children, even as we speak, but it could all come down to this.
Yeah.
And so easy to operate. There's even a little, there's a band that the children can wear around their neck, as they do with their smaller version of the exchange book. The development of it took a couple of years, but it has arrived, it's on the scene. How much does it cost, the application?
It's €30. Now, just to put it into context, the disc that I got all the pictures from that would be about €50. To put the book together with the pages, you're talking another 50 to 75 once you've bought. And unfortunately, as you can see, it gets covered with food. The pictures split, so you're always printing and replacing, and you know you can be down €150 by the time you've set up, but happy to do it. The other part of this is that we're always meeting and exchanging, so the child isn't sitting in their room with a voice machine saying I want drink. They have to come to you and together point at the pictures, which is the essence of this, and that makes sure that whatever speech they have, you're developing. Now, a short time after we launched this, a lady got in touch with me. She has a 17-year-old with cerebral palsy, and a friend had said, you've got to have a look at this. And I said to her, well, you know, how much speech has he got? And she said, well, he doesn't have any. They told me not to worry about getting him to speak. They were just giving him a voice machine. And I said, but if he has a little bit, isn't that important that you keep interacting and you keep building? And she said, yes, of course. You know, it hadn't occurred to her. When I asked her, you know, would he be able to use a phone because of cerebral palsy? I don't have any experience with that. And she said, yeah, he can use mine. You know, and I said, well, get him taking photos, get him, you know, because it's not that you're giving them the means to communicate, but they're giving them the means to interact with you.
You're empowering them.
Empowering them. And that empowerment, we would have requests, obviously, that we won't grant. You know, I'm not going to take Gracie swimming at midnight if she says, I want swimming pool.
Naturally.
But I have a button on here. You'd be surprised. Autism parents will do anything, you know, to avoid a tantrum. And Gracie can do a 2-hour job. I mean, you saw her getting upset there. She used to be able to, you know, absolutely scream the house down for 2 hours. I can just put a no on the end of that. So she knows I understand. She doesn't have to get frustrated because she thinks I don't understand her. But I'm not giving her permission. And the difference in the tantrum, it's a strop. She'll just say, all right.
All kids try it on anyway.
Exactly.
Well, it's only launched in the last couple of weeks. You're going to hear more about it in the coming months and years ahead. It is a fantastic development. Congratulations with it. But of course, you need iPhones. So anybody who's upgrading, please.
Yeah.
You're changing your
Saplings,
8 gig for a 32 gig or 16 gig. Saplings
Get in touch.
and the Irish Autism Action